On today's San Francisco 49ers Report, we're chopping it up with the faithful, taking your questions, comments, and analysis, and all of these super chats, all of these questions coming in from the real ones, our dedicated subscribers right here on the show. And if you've been enjoying our coverage of the Niners this year, I want you to show us love. How many likes can we pick up on today's video? And if you stop by often and sometimes you're not in the comment section, like the video and let us know what you like about the show. It helps us improve as a whole right here on the channel. Let's begin with this $20 super chat coming in from Jeannie Wyatt using the hashtag Faithful Ladies. A lot of ladies rocking and rolling with us here on the show. Do you think that if Deebo doesn't play, we lose, but they're waiting on Wednesday to see? Let's answer that part of the question first. Obviously, Deebo Samuel is so important to what the Niners like to do offensively. He has a diverse route tree, and you can use him in a variety of ways. End arounds, jet sweeps, bubble screens, reverses, as a wide receiver, as a running back. He could pick up yards after the catch. He's a threat to take it to the crib anytime he gets his hands on the football. So when he doesn't play, you're taking away a one-of-one weapon who I think might be the most unique skill position player in the NFL because of what he brings to the field and how he plays the game of football. And the way that he approaches the game, I think, rubs off on his teammates. So that's a big loss. I do think that San Francisco, with their game planning practices this week, and Kyle Shanahan has to coach and has to prepare better, has to do a better job of managing the game, calling plays, making adjustments than he did against the Packers. Otherwise, the Niners will lose this game. Kyle Shanahan, it was head-scratching what he was thinking and doing against Green Bay. Now, in the guts of the game, he was clutch. So too was Brock Purdy in this Niners offense. But with the whole week of preparations, you're thinking, okay, how can we get by without Deebo Samuel? Plenty of time to think about that. I do think the Niners plenty talented to win without number 19. And then Jeannie Wyatt also said, quest for 6, of course. Let's go Niners. Bang, bang, Niner gang. Someone said it wasn't a comeback against Green Bay. Pretty hilarious. And that was Keyshawn Johnson, who on Fox, on the show with Skip Bayless, Undisputed, which I never watch because Skip is a fraud, and you could tell him I said that. Keyshawn Johnson said it wasn't a comeback for the Niners. I failed elementary algebra at Temple University, but when you come back from 21-17 and you score a touchdown late to win the game 24-21, I think it's a comeback. Big Hurt, $10 super chat. Wilkes makes adjustments because he likes to start in soft zone coverage and back off when we have a team behind the sticks. I guess I'm spoiled because D'Amico kept his foot on the offense's neck. Speaking of Steve Wilkes, speaking of Kyle Shanahan, think about this Lions team and how they are where they are right now. Really good roster. They've drafted and developed talent very well. They have a great offensive play caller, a lot of great skill position players on that side of the ball, but they're also really aggressive. They'll go for it on a 4th and short in their own territory. They'll go for 2 when they need to. They'll go for it on a 4th and goal. And in this game, if it's close, it could be decided between Dan Campbell's over-aggressiveness or Kyle Shanahan being overly conservative. I think that's a sneaky element of this game that we have to remember as we look forward. Shanahan cannot be conservative going up against an aggressive team that will take shots offensively and dial up a lot of blitzes. And that message is to Kyle Shanahan. That message is to Steve Wilkes. Keep your foot on the Lions' neck. And in speaking of Steve Wilkes, I do think that he made some pretty good adjustments in the game on Saturday. Jordan Love on the Packers' first 6 possessions, 15 for 22, 168 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks, a rating of 120.3. Last 4 possessions, 2 interceptions, 6 of 12, 30 yards, 0 touchdowns, any rating of 16.7. And then you look in depth at some of the numbers here. Aaron Jones, outside of that 53-yard rush, did average 3.2 yards per carry. And the Niners kind of did beat themselves offensively in the game and defensively. First drive, you had the Ambry Thomas pass interference on 3rd and 6, moved the ball up closer to the goal line. Tashaun Gipson got flagged for defensive pass interference on the 2nd and 10. You had Ambry Thomas with another PI on the 3rd and 15. You gave up the 73-yard return. Like, these types of things can't happen in a playoff game, and that's why the Niners nearly lost. And it's hard to imagine those things happening again with a team that has executed, has this much talent, and has been well coached for much of the year. Appreciate that, Big Hurt. Make sure you sign up with Prize Picks, largest independently run daily fantasy sports app in North America. Easy and exciting daily fantasy, and a great deal for everybody out there. The app is free to download, and you can get a $100 deposit match at prizepicks.com/CLNS and use the code CLNS. You put in $100, you get $100 back. I was a winner on Saturday night. Had Christian McCaffrey more than 92.5 rushing yards. Deebo Samuel more than 16.5 rushing yards. He got hurt in the first half, and there's injury insurance for your picks if a player goes out in the first half so that you don't get screwed over. And then I had Aaron Jones more than 69.5 rushing yards. So I put down 10, and I won $30. Pretty good payout there, going 2 for 2. Imagine if you hit an 8-player more or less. You can win up to 25 times your money with Prize Picks sometimes. With some demon plays, you can win up to 40x. prizepicks.com/CLNS. Gold Rush checking in here. Bang, bang, Shanahan. Let's open with the run. Now, I talked about Kyle Shanahan a little bit earlier. He's going to have to coach better. It was just odd how he approached this game. I do like how after he went pass happy to start, he stuck with Christian McCaffrey, and it worked out. 2 touchdowns for Run CMC. And for Brock Purdy to throw 39 times in a rainstorm, that just never made a lot of sense to me. But hopefully the Niners here, Gold Rush, were able to flush that bad game, and they shook off a little bit of that rust, which is a real thing. We saw it with Baltimore. First half was shaky against Houston. Second half dominant, and we saw it with San Francisco. Unfortunately for the Niners, they didn't save our hearts or our health at all. They didn't get it together until those last couple of drives. John Edwards, $100 super chat. Looking fresh, by the way, in the profile picture. I'm going to guess that's a Ronnie Lott jersey right there. I'm guessing. If that's the case, looking good. Niners are due for a breakout offensive game. I think the weather's going to help this. It's expected to be very nice at Levi Stadium in Santa Clara on Sunday. And because of that, Lions really good offense. Niners loaded offense. I think a lot of points are going to be scored. I do like the over 50.5, 51.5, depending on which sports book that you look at. And I think the good weather is going to allow Purdy to play a lot better. And it's going to allow Kyle Shanahan to have a game plan that he's more comfortable with. Tom Daly, $10 super chat. The only people rooting for the Niners are Niner fans. F the media. Purdy pulled a Joe Montana on that drive. It'll go down in Niner history. It is going to go down in Niner history. And you think about just some of the legendary moments in the history of this organization, which is going to be playing in its, 19th conference championship game? Go for broke, correct me if I'm wrong. They're looking for their 6th Super Bowl. And you think about the great moments from Joe Montana to Jerry Rice, the catch to Dwight Clark, Terrell Owens from Steve Young. You think about Robbie Gould beating the Packers. Colin Kaepernick going on the road to beat Green Bay. Alex Smith and the run. Joe Staley on that pull block, opening up an opportunity for Alex Smith on that run. Like so many legendary moments in the history of this organization, and that drive, Purdy, 6 of 7, with the lone incompletion being a drop. Big-time football. Pull out your nuts, put them on the table. That's what Big Cock Brock did, BCB. Niner Mafia, you think Juice will be more involved if Deebo doesn't play? You know, it kind of depends, and his usage is always a little bit different. Obviously, he's always going to be used as a blocker out in space, but he's just not the player. Elusive, speed, breakaway speed, catching the ball out of the backfield, lining up as a wide receiver, jet sweeps, end arounds. Like, you don't really use Kyle Juszczyk in that way. Maybe you see a little bit more from Jawan Jennings. Maybe you see Christian McCaffrey line up in the slot with Elijah Mitchell in the backfield, who didn't play at all against the Packers. There are things that you can do to make up for Deebo not being in this game, and The Niners have to improve for that. They have to prepare for that because they have to improve upon their performance that they put on tape against the Green Bay Packers. Him is him. What will we and the Lions do if we get into 3rd and 9 because they go for it all the time? Yeah, like I said, Lions are very aggressive. San Francisco more erring on the side of being more cautious and conservative. 3rd and 9, yeah, honestly, a key in this game, is going to be playing ahead of the sticks. You can't play behind the sticks, meaning you can't be in long yardage situations, which make your offense be put in a really difficult spot. The Lions also like to blitz a lot. So if you're in a 3rd and 9, Brock Purdy's been good against the blitz. Brock Purdy is good against pressure. He hasn't had a lot of clean pockets this year, as we've talked about here on the show. He's still been able to execute, but it's a little bit different when you're in a 3rd and short, 3rd and medium, as compared to a 3rd and long when that blitz is getting sent to you. So preparing for the blitz is something that San Francisco, I imagine, is doing throughout this week. And Jared Goff and how he performs against the Niners pass rush and against the Niners blitz, that's going to be a big key to this game. Frank Ragnow banged up, sprained knee, sprained ankle, suffered both those injuries against the Bucs. He's an all-pro center. And then Jonah Jackson is not going to play at left guard. Big game coming up for Javon Hargrave, Arik Armstead, and maybe from Steve Wilks, we see some Chase Young, Nick Bosa lining up at defensive tackle so that they can get the edge on those banged-up players and the backups to muddy up the pocket and to really disrupt the sight line for Jared Goff right up the gut. Ryan, Josh Allen is still praised after he lost and Purdy's name is trashed, and he actually won. It just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. And the people's reasoning is he has a great supporting cast and a great head coach, and he was dropped into a situation. It's like if we got hired by Apple and then we helped take Apple to the next level and we turn an already profitable business into a much more profitable business. Am I going to get knocked for that? Does my work not matter? Should I be discredited just because Steve Jobs laid the foundation? Or are my innovative ideas, my execution, my hard work, are they going to be factored in, appreciated, and recognized? Josh Allen, what has he done in his playoff career? Nothing. And he has loaded weapons and a really good defense. And yesterday he's at home against the weakest Chiefs team that we've seen in the Patrick Mahomes era. Yet his inability to come through in the clutch and to take the simple throw instead of always going for the kill shot, he hasn't made it on a long playoff run. Yet Brock Purdy, year 2 NFC Championship games. And he doesn't have the physical ability that Josh Allen has. It's crazy. Jeannie Wyatt, Purdy told the reporter that Kyle told him if they get Tom Brady, he wouldn't be a starter. Now, can Tom Brady get where we are now? Or could Tom Brady have gotten the Niners where we are right now? Yeah, it's a really good question, Jeannie Wyatt. So this was an ESPN article put together by Nick Wagner, where obviously at the time in the offseason, San Francisco was not aware and didn't know what the recovery process was going to be for Brock Purdy's elbow surgery. And he came back about 2 months before some doctors predicted that he would come back. So he really defied medical odds with not only coming back in time for the regular season, but being full go on the first day of training camp and then playing in the preseason as well. So like any good business, a lot of business talk here on the show, the Niners had a contingency plan. And the contingency plan was Tom Brady. And Kyle Shanahan wanted the Niners to sign Tom Brady. So he had a conversation with Brock Purdy. If you're healthy, you're going to be our guy. But if you can't start the season, Tom Brady is going to come back to the Bay Area where he grew up as a Niner fan. He was that candlestick for the catch, and he would have been our starting quarterback. And you would have been the backup this year. Pretty wild story to think about, and pretty insane to think that Tom Brady could have been leading this team this year. Now, Jeannie, you ask, could we have had the same success with Tom Brady as Brock Purdy? I think so. It's a quarterback-friendly system. You have a lot of weapons. I think Tom Brady would have been rejuvenated by coming back to the Bay Area where his parents still live, opportunity to play for the team that he grew up rooting for. Joe Montana was his idol, and it's not like he would have had to have left a bad Patriots team with no weapons through an arduous season into the playoffs and really carry the load. You had Christian McCaffrey run for more than 2,000 yards. He can do that with Tom Brady. You have all the weapons and George Kittle, who Brady likes targeting tight ends. A lot of success with Gronk. He could have thrown the deep ball and allowed Brandon Ayuk to thrive. Same can be said for Deebo Samuel. Tom Brady has always been clutch. He's thrown with touch, timing, and accuracy like Purdy does. Would have been able to improvise like Purdy, which I do think helps the Niners out a little bit. But becoming overly reliant on your athleticism sometimes can be a negative to the quarterback position, a la a Josh Allen. So I think the Niners still could have been in this spot with Tom Brady. And last year, he still played really good football. And we know he's always dedicated to the craft. Give me a follow on X. Give me a follow on Instagram. Both platforms at Chase_Senior. Love talking Niners with all of the people. Look forward to hearing from you.